All right, Ian, we have a Patreon poll.
Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you commit funds.
You commit fungible funds.
You commit funds. You get the full video podcast that way. We do hangouts. I got to do a hangout this weekend. I'm going to do a hangout this weekend, this Sunday.
You got to do a writing too.
This Sunday. Got to do a writing. It's about that time. Last week I did some Tiny Tales from the game stores. Go check that out. And we do a poll topic that you vote on this week, Patrick. What do we got?
In second place, would a monetary or other indicator cause you to sell your game collection? 39%. And in first place, the big winner. Do big video game releases get too much hype?
Yes, they do.
End of topic.
End of topic. This is actually coming off of an interesting article that is now a few months old.
That's about how long we wanted to talk about this topic.
Yeah, that was put out on Nintendo Life by Mitch Vogel, called Soapbox. The modern games industry has a hype problem and it needs to stop. And in it, he starts talking about Bayonetta 3 and how people, excitedly want footage of it. He talks about Cyberpunk. I think obviously Cyberpunk is one of the probably biggest examples of overhype in recent years.
Sure.
But all games, fall victim to this, I think, at this point. Last of Us 2, falls victim to it every year. The Call of Duty games get a hype cycle. Star Wars games get hype cycles. Everything gets these huge hype cycles. And he talks about it in his personal experience with it involves the Yoshi's games. The Yoshi games, the recent ones. How on the Wii U, he really liked Yoshi's Woolly World. I did as well. I thought it was a great game. A little easy, but very, very pretty and fun. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how hyped up he got for Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch, and how it was a big letdown for him, and how there were certain problems with it that definitely affected it. He said there was too much, hunting and pecking, basically collecting and stuff like that. But the big problem was he realized he had turned it into a game in his head that it could never possibly have been on release. And this has been happening more and more in the games industry. And I don't think there's really any benefit to it. I think we're starting to see the end of the benefit to these sorts of hype cycles.
To the consumer.
Yes, we're starting to see the end of the benefit. It used to be that this would get people pumped out, and you'd get people pre-ordering games, and you'd get people all out so they could get a game on the night of release. But I think now with digital, and the fact that you can get a game from your couch, you no longer need to pre-order. The hype cycle, there is no need to necessarily rush out and get the game right away. You'll always be able to get a copy. So I think people have started to calm down a little bit and wait after a game is released to see what happens. And it's been ending in disappointment time after time, as it did with Cyberpunk. These companies are showing gameplay footage such as like the cinematic trailers. I hate cinematic trailers that are basically just cutscene that are supposed to give you an idea of a game, but don't actually show you.
There's no gameplay.
Any of the gameplay.
It's a cliche, but there's no gameplay. So what are you showing me?
And I think about it when we go back to Cyberpunk, how I have really, in my head, I had an idea of how the game was going to play based on what they described, but they don't focus on any of that stuff. You don't see the gameplay. You don't have any. Your expectations are not realistic in any way, shape, or form, and it's hard to have a realistic expectation when the developers are going out of their way to not show you what they're working on. And I think it's a two-way street, though. We become attached to these games so early on. How many people were Cyberpunk fans doing Cyberpunk cosplay, putting Cyberpunk art up, making Cyberpunk icons for their fucking, their Twitter feed without knowing anything about the game? People are buying into these games whole hog before they even come out, to the point where when they come out, you have people who are so bought into it with this hype cycle that they have to defend it because they've put so much of themselves into this game. And it's ridiculous. It's not good. We need to go back to looking at a game, looking at a preview.
It's like the games dev and publishers basically get free marketing by overhyping it earlier, hyping it, and then you have all these people that are keeping it in the consciousness and doing all these things like you said for the benefit not of themselves but for the publisher.
Right. And in a era where money is the most important with these sales, I hate to say it, developers might not think this way, but publishers are going to look at it and be like, these problems with the game don't matter. Look at the market we already have for it.
Sure.
It's going to sell anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Cyberpunk made money.
Yeah.
But it was it worth it? I don't know. So yes, there's definitely, I think it's an obvious question. There is a hype problem, but I do think it's partially the devs, but it also falls on us. We have to stop being these consumers that buy into the idea of a game or like a piece of concept art and decide that we're going to make this our banner for the next 2 fucking years.
But that's a whole other conversation.
Insane.
I don't know if it's more sociological. I'm not the type of person that will buy into a new console or a new game and spend years of my life following it.
No, I am the exact opposite.
I just don't have time.
If a game looks interesting to me, I go on like from the earliest previews. If a game looks interesting to me, I go on media blackout because I just want to experience it fresh.
So I had no idea. According to this, I'll get into the Game Awards themselves and how. I mean, at this point, obviously, the Game Awards it's a marketing campaign. That the show, we know that they're the ones who buy the fucking airtime or whatever. I had no idea Bayonetta 3 was announced that long ago and isn't out yet. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
3.5 years ago and it's still not out yet? I had no idea. None. There's no reason to have a game announced that early before it comes out. We talked about the Metroid Prime 4 thing, how embarrassing that was for Nintendo. Nintendo did not have to do that, even that little in-development thing. That benefited nobody to have that. Then embarrassingly have to admit we junked the whole game and started over. I think that benefits no one.
It benefits no one, and Nintendo has been pretty good about that lately. It made me think that was kind of early on in the Switch.
That was hubris.
But it was also before they had a huge library of titles already out and under their belt. And I think they wanted something to kind of entice people who are holding on. I'm not saying it's good, but Nintendo doesn't normally do that. They usually do hey, look at this game. It's out in 3 months. Sure. At least they've been doing that with the Switch. And I think Metroid taught them a lot.
Obviously, companies do this for awareness because there's so many games being made. But it's also, for what Ian says, for pre-orders. You're guaranteed with that hype to get a certain number of pre-orders because people have been waiting on fucking a game like Cyberpunk now for like 3, 4, 5 years. Oh, I'm putting out my pre-order. This game's going to be great. It's going to be GTA, but in the future with Keanu and all this stuff. And Keanu will come out to the Game Awards and say hi. Keanu has nothing to do with the quality of the game. We all love Keanu. Him being paid by CG Projekt Red to come out and say hello real quickly, that doesn't mean the game's going to be any better or worse.
I'm sure Keanu is actually a good person from the things I've read.
Yeah,
but Keanu isn't on stage telling you about Cyberpunk because he thinks it's a great opportunity that you just got to hear about. No, he got a check for it.
Keanu did his motion capture and his acting probably like whatever in like a few days, 5-6 days or whatever. Did his voiceover. He has no idea that the game coming out is going to be a piece of shit. No idea. He probably saw the news. It's probably, it's bummer, man.
Yeah.
He probably was bummed by that because he thought this would be a cool project. He's presented the best case. So when I saw that happen at the Game Awards, the past one, that was at the first 2 ago. Was that 2019? That was pre-COVID because he was there in person. That was pre-COVID.
That wasn't Game Awards. That was E3 when he came out.
Okay.
Oh, maybe he did Game Awards too. E3 was the You're Fabulous thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
Keanu's been around.
The whole point is that that's where I tune out. It's the whole. I think this all comes back to the gamer as a lifestyle, and when it becomes too much of your life versus just taking a step back and being okay. Do you already have my $70 just because you have a couple of cool trailers and you got Keanu in there? Is that enough to get my pre-order versus waiting for the reviews to come out? And can I actually fucking play this game on my console without it crashing? Like, is people have to take a step back? I understand, though. I understand getting excited. But also,
yeah, me too.
I think the reason these companies also do this, they know people have budgets. They know that they're competing for your dollars for someone else. Not everyone has, $1,000 a year to spend on new games. You may have $500, maybe you have $400. I can buy maybe, in theory, not talking about me, but in general, like maybe I buy like 6-7 new AAA games a year. That's my budget. I can afford like $500. You're competing. This company's CD Projekt Red is competing against Nintendo and everyone else. They know that. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
So, but they don't care that they got your money. They don't care if the game comes out and you can't fucking play it on your PS4, your base PS4. They don't care. They obviously didn't, or else they wouldn't have released it.
Their work is done.
Oh, we'll patch it up later. Maybe you can play it in 3 months.
Getting to market and making money is the end goal for something.
Not
that
all
big.
these companies, but like
for something that big, yes.
Yes, something with that much, hundreds of millions of dollars at stake.
Recouping money is all they care about.
Yeah, and they could have waited, but they don't care. So that's why when I watch the Game Awards in particular, when they had an audience and they're hooping and hollering, I'm like, are these paid plants? Are they really getting that excited over a trailer for a game that won't be out for like 2-3 years that doesn't show gameplay, or it's just a cinematic? I just don't. That's where I'm either too old, or I'm not really a gamer, or whatever. I'm disconnected. But I don't remember a time in my life where I was excited over a game that I ended up buying over a cinematic trailer or something like that. I wanted to see gameplay at least.
Sure.
I wanted to see it. So, is there too much hype? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know what we can do about it. I don't know if people are going to see this this disaster that's happened with Cyberpunk and be like, okay, I got to take a step back. I got God on this one. I'm not going to get God on the next one and wait 4 years and be disappointed.